Now, let's take a moment and just unpack the significance of Ramaphosa's appearance before the South African Human Rights Commission. And we're going to do that now with Professor Kgothatso Shai from the University of Limpopo. Prof, good afternoon. The Commission itself, at the start of the proceedings this morning, and the President himself at the start and at the end, in his closing remarks, both acknowledged that it's the first time in the history of the Republic that the President has testified before the South African Human Rights Commission. Can we just begin there? How significant is this point?
Good afternoon to you and the viewers at home. I think the availability, the readily availability of the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, to appear before the South African Human Rights Commission's hearings, it does not come as a surprise, because you will also remember that Ramaphosa also readily availed himself to give testimony to like-minded commissions such as the Commission on State Capture led by Justice Zondo. But what is of importance about this readily availability on the part of the head of government and state to give testimony, it reaffirms the supremacy of the rule of law and the Constitution in a country such as ours. And it's also an affirmation of the fact that regardless of one's occupation in the society, we remain equal before the eyes of the law. And as and when we are required to give testimony, which can assist to inform proper decision-making at whatever level, people must always rise to the occasion. So this is a president setting an example.
How did he fare? I mean, in terms of what he had to say, both in terms of the opening remarks, how he conducted himself throughout responding to the various questions by the Commission as panel, and also in his closing remarks?
By now, you will know very well that President Ramaphosa, if there is one thing that President Ramaphosa has mastered even before he became the president, and which he continues to excel on, is the art of negotiation and also diplomacy. Throughout his his interview the whole day in the commission, he demonstrated a high level of political maturity, and also he demonstrated a high level of patience. So President Ramaphosa is someone who continues to project himself as, this president who is, is at all times, when necessary, even when under provocation, he stays calm. He continues to present himself with that stature that is befitting the persona of the president, the head of state, and the head of government. But all in all, one will say, we need to draw a distinction between how a president fares rhetorically in terms of explaining certain issues in respect of the July 2021 unrest in the country, and the practical realities on the ground. I think if there is anything which one will actually have expected the president to come out and to acknowledge, is that indeed, the president, as he correctly said, South Africa is not a failed state. But for me, South Africa, it is a failing state because we have got key indications that suggest that South Africa is fast retreating towards becoming a failed state unless the economic model of this country is revisited. Because at the center of the many challenges that are faced by our country is the economic model, because the economic model that is in place has not been able to fundamentally change or alter the structure of the economy of South Africa. The colonial structure of the economy of South Africa has not been fundamentally transformed. And this is an issue that is at the heart of the challenge that we are facing. So one need to acknowledge that unless something drastic happens in South Africa, you look at the state of corruption within both the public and even the private sector. You also look at the increasing levels of unemployment in the country, the poverty levels, something that has been even became worse with the outbreak of the COVID-19. Unless something drastic happens, we are indeed destined to become a failed state, typical of other African states. And a conviction among some of us who have been saying, we appear to, as a country, to have failed to draw positive lessons from those countries that gained freedom and democracy before us. And South Africa, seemingly, it's just one of those typical African states destined to fail, unless something drastic happens.
Thank you very much, Professor Kgothatso Shai, politics professor at University of Limpopo, sharing some of his views following the President's testimony at the South African Human Rights Commission into last July's unrest.